What's going on, everyone? I hope you had a fantastic weekend, and I hope you're ready to roll because this week will be exciting. We had a lot of good price action in the market on Friday, and we're seeing some pretty big shifts that we haven't seen in some cases in a couple of years now. So in today's video, we're going to go over some of our best predictions for tomorrow, the most important things you need to know going into this week because earnings season is also heating up, and we have Powell speaking yet again. So you guys better stick with us all the way to the end. But Tom, let's jump right into today's episode.
Yeah, Mike, and that market last week was pretty wild. In pre-market, the market was flying up Friday, but whenever the market opened, it started turning over in a major way, and it seemed like a bunch of fear was coming into the market. I know a lot of people were worried about the Israel conflict. People have been watching crude oil very closely, and on Friday, this thing exploded. And we didn't just see crude oil explode either. We also saw gold explode, along with silver, which shows that I think a lot of people are starting to hedge fear at the moment right now, but it's amazing to start to see these metals flying up, oils flying up. I feel like that fear is creeping over into the market a little bit, but the SPY has still been very choppy. While the overall price action Friday was down, it barely broke the low of Thursday, to be honest. So it was a bearish day, but that pre-market move up makes it seem a little bit better, I guess. But at the end of the day, gold moving the way it is, Mike, is just totally insane back to the upside here.
Exactly, and I think not too many people are talking about this right now, but it is a very important warning sign. Looking at ticker symbol GLD, basically gold prices had their largest daily increase since March of 2020, or the second largest daily increase, I should say. But the main thing is people are flocking to gold right now, and you have to ask yourself, why would you do that? And it makes total sense. It's because, when you look at the current market environment, it makes sense to jump into, I guess you could say, safer assets right now, given that the market's starting to fall. We have a lot of stocks at crazy valuations still. On top of that, we have crude oil prices, jumping to the upside by 6% in one day on Friday. And while all of that is happening, we have the VIX index up by basically 16% in one day from Friday. So all of these things are pretty bearish signs for the market. People are selling their stocks. They are jumping into, some assets like oil, which when oil rises, it's not the best thing for the market. And they're jumping into gold and silver. And those are just things you do when the market doesn't look that great.
Exactly, and with the market not looking the best right now, I'm actually really happy to see gold starting to go up with the market. I know for a long time this year, it seemed like whenever we would look at the SPY, and if we go out to an hourly chart, SPY was dipping down quite a bit from July, and overall had some pretty downwards price action from July. Well, same thing happened with gold, July, August, started really downtrending with the market. But I think that the past couple days, gold is starting to kind of invert the market again, which is fantastic. Gold is a really big fear gauge, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of analysts look at gold and oil as predictions of fear, and I think that gold finally inversing the SPY, going up as the SPY tanked down Friday, was a really good sign to show that fear is starting to creep back in. And it makes sense because between all the economic situations, now we have possible strengthening of this war in the Middle East. This is getting definitely pretty scary out there. So I just wanted to point that out, Mike, because gold had really been following the market for a little while, and it's a nice sight to see it finally inversing it again.
No doubt. So keep a close eye on ticker symbol GLD. There's a bunch of different ETFs out there that follow precious metals and gold in general. GLD is the best one, though. And, of course, you have gold futures and all of that great stuff as well. But, Tom, we touched on VIX and how it had such an amazing day on Friday. And we can't not talk about the seasonality when it comes to the VIX index. So, basically, in the red line right here, we can see, the VIX's recent price action, and then in the gray lines we can see what it normally does around this time. There are two main takeaways right now. The first one being that VIX right now is relatively lower than where it normally is around this time. We can see a lot of times in the middle of October, it is common to see VIX lingering between like 20 to like 27, and that's a lot higher than where it is right now, right around 19. But just going by the historical averages, it can pop up more, but after October, VIX normally tends to kind of chill out, but this is happening, right as a time where VIX is really starting to increase in volatility and, all that good stuff to the upside. So a lot of people are asking themselves, while VIX has been pretty, I guess you could say, obedient to its long-term averages so far this year, will this be the breaking point where it just kind of, starts to go crazy? I think it is, but of course, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that VIX will be really fun to play over the next couple weeks, especially if the market gets really crazy out there, right? Because when does VIX usually start to move a lot? Whenever the market starts to take those bigger hits. And I think that we'll start to see that happen, obviously. The SPY's been tanking down. We're seeing NVIDIA start to break big trend lines to the downside. We have Tesla rejecting off of trends, QQQ's rejecting off trends. It seems like everything is just in like that bearish state, at least as of Friday. So I hope that coming into this week, Mike, we see more of these downwards moves here. Because like if we look at NVIDIA, it had been going up for like almost a month straight again. I mean, look at that price action. It wasn't necessarily exploding, but it was just slow and steady. Now we got that big break off to the downside. Maybe this will finally be where we start that downtrend and we start to see that VIX break back up. If we go to that daily chart, Mike, we've talked about this a lot, where VIX is getting back up to that 20, 22 range, which is more normal for it. Whenever it was down around 13, that was insane down there. And I know we've had a lot of nice plays on UVXY over the past couple weeks, and this is going to be an awesome ETF to play if the VIX does continue up.
Exactly. So if you think VIX will pop up, you have UVXY, and that's like the main one. There's also VXX, and if you want to get fancy, there's futures, but keep an eye on UVXY going forward. It's great for short-term trading when the market is tanking, but it's not something you want to hold over long periods of time. But Tom, a big reason this week will be exciting is not only because of what we're seeing with the market and VIX and gold and all that good stuff, but we also have earnings season back in action. So looking at this week, the main stocks that'll be the stars of the show are Tesla and Netflix on Wednesday after close, but we have a lot of other great earnings plays sprinkled in there, like TSMC on Thursday before market open, Taiwan Semiconductor, and you can see that there's a whole lot of exciting stocks set to report this week.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, there is a bunch. I'm going to sound like an auctioneer for a second, but Bank of America, Lockheed Martin, Goldman, Morgan Stanley, Abbott, Johnson & Johnson, Nokia, Taiwan Semiconductors, AT&T, American Airlines. There's just so many mixed in, even American Express on Friday. So be ready for it. Obviously, everybody's going to be watching Tesla and Netflix on Wednesday and after hours. That's probably going to be the biggest day here. I do think that Tuesday before the market opens will be very important as well, with Bank of America and Goldman. And we saw those other banks on Friday, like JP Morgan and Citigroup, have fairly good reports. So I wonder how these other banks will move.
All right, Tom, I'm curious. If you had to pick one stock from this entire list that you're most excited for earnings, which stock would it be?
You know what? I think I'm going to throw some people off with this one, but Mike, I'm going with actually Taiwan Semiconductors. It's a huge chip stock out there. The semiconductors have been going wild. I know everyone's going to want to hear about Tesla, but hey, TSM's a pretty big one too.
True. I would have to say Netflix. Netflix is a company that has had such a wild story over like the past couple of years. Everything from their problems with, just losing subscribers to trying to come back from the dead. It's been like a wild story for them, and I really am excited to see how they do this quarter and to see if they can get those subs back to where they should be. Like, the stock has had an amazing recovery over since its lows in the middle of 2022, but again, they still have a lot more work to do, and they're still very far away from their all-time high of basically $700 a share that it made back in the end of 2021.
That is a huge all-time high, and I know that they've been working on that ad-supported tier. I can't wait to see those numbers for Netflix. It's going to be huge. But yeah, if you guys want to screenshot this, screenshot it, keep it in the background. You guys can check it out. Earnings Whispers puts out some of the best charts for earnings. Go follow them on Twitter if you guys want to get all the good earnings news.
You know it. Well, Tom, we also have JP speaking again this week. Jerome Powell will speak on Thursday at noon Eastern time, and basically he is speaking at the Economic Club of New York luncheon. So he's having some lunch and talking the market. Right? What else could you want when you're the chair of the Federal Reserve? But yeah, I mean, keep your eyes peeled for that. Anytime Powell speaks, it's something you just have to watch.
Yeah, definitely. So 12 p.m. Thursday, October 19th. Be ready for him. I also noticed, Mike, that there was a pretty big speech at 1:30 p.m. that day where Michael S. Barr is going to be talking about stress testing with the banks. I hate to say it, Mike, but I might actually tune into this guy over Powell for once.
Oh, no. So keep that in mind going forward. In terms of like events this week, there's not really like too much action going on for the economic data side, but Thursday's the main thing to pay attention to, and we have a bunch of other Fed speakers sprinkled in on basically every other day. But Tom, let's get right into the fun stuff for today, which are some setups for tomorrow and the next couple days. So one stock I'm watching so closely is ticker symbol GLD. It had some amazing bullish flows pop into it on Friday, I should say. Basically, great volumes flowing in. Great price action is with this ETF right now, and all of this comes at a time when, I guess you could say conflicts around the world are not the best, you can say, between Israel and Palestine, between Russia and Ukraine, and everything else going on. It's not great for the world in general, and when people are scared, they resort to assets that they've resorted to for thousands of years, like gold, silver, and things like that. So I am going to be watching this pretty closely. I've also seen a lot of big money flow into this as well. And while gold doesn't necessarily have to be green tomorrow, I am looking at it in a pretty bullish way over the next couple of days and weeks.
Yeah, I kind of think that's a good way to look at it. Like, of course, there could always be a red day sprinkled in here or there, but I think it'll be great over the next couple weeks as well. And we've been actually watching it off of this lower support for a little while now. So keep it on the radar, guys. Gold is awesome with all those metals at the moment. Man, Mike, I got to go with NVIDIA to the downside, right? When does Tom not talk about the chip stocks? But NVIDIA falling off pretty hard. They fell back under 460 last week. And while gold had that big move up, it's almost like NVIDIA inverse them, fell 3% while gold rose 3%. But looking at NVIDIA here, there's a big support coming up right around 450 even. If we're able to break under that Monday, I'll look at more puts. I know it's a little bit oversold on an intraday basis, but whenever you zoom out, that uptrend looks pretty strong, and we're finally breaking that trend line a little bit more precisely to the downside. So I'm going to keep my eyes on puts for this week. Like Mike said, though, even if it does go up Monday, I'm still going to watch it down on Tuesday and Wednesday. Like, there could be one green day sprinkled in.
No doubt. All right, another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Meta. So Meta has had an amazing run over like the past year or so. It basically went from like $90 all the way up to $325, and it's pretty overbought in the short term. On top of that, we are seeing some more fear and bearishness creep into the market. So I am watching Meta to the downside. I think it can fall a good amount more, and with the way it's currently falling, I would not be surprised at all if we did see a retest of that $300 level somewhat soon. Of course, that doesn't mean tomorrow, but if this bearish momentum keeps up, it's definitely on pace to touch 300 again.
It's funny, Mike. I've had an alert at $300 for like a month now, and it just has not broken under there. I've been waiting for the break, and it just hasn't been happening. So I'll definitely be watching for a nice pullback back to 300. It looks pretty good, and I love how there's it's not like a gap, but we had that big run up a while ago to kind of fill that back down to 300. So I love this setup. I'll definitely be watching this one come Monday, and I'm going to piss people off, Mike, as usual, right? Going with Tesla to the downside again, but how could I not? It's been so good to the downside lately, and there's been a few people playing puts on it in Discord, and they've been doing really well. So I'll be watching Tesla to the downside. It's been bouncing off this key trend line that it's been on for a couple of years now since its all-time high, and it just retested it and turned over again. If we break this huge 250 support, I will definitely be looking at puts. $250 even is a huge psychological level here. So if we break it, watch for puts Monday morning.
Tom, you're lucky that we're not in 2020 right now, because the way the Tesla bull crowd was back then, if you said you're watching Tesla to the downside, you would have gotten stoned. Seriously. But now it's like, now that Tesla, the hype is kind of died down a little bit. It's still there, but now that it's cooled down a little bit, you get a little bit more leeway. So, but yeah, either way, Tesla stock has been, it's been, I don't want to say struggling. It's just been not the Tesla that it's been over the past couple of years.
Yeah, since it's low here in 2023 at the beginning of the year, it's fantastic, right? If you go from low to high, it's awesome. But it's ever since July, it's just been stuck in this big range up here around 200 to 280. And, I'm hoping that we can finally get back towards the bottom of that range again so I can buy up a bunch of shares and then catch the uptrend. But until this trend breaks, I'm not going to be very bullish on it.
Yeah, and then Tesla's actually at the same level that it was in January of 2021, so in the grand scheme of things, it has been pretty flat. And, you can expect that when you have such a large increase from, let's say, 2018 all the way up to 2021. So good stuff there. I will also be watching Tesla pretty closely, but let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have Amazon to the downside.
What a crazy move on Friday by some of these larger stocks out there like Amazon. If they break under 129, go ahead and watch those puts. I loved how they got under 130 on Friday.
All right, with the next one, we have Microsoft also to the downside.
MSFT, if they break under 326.50, just at that low of day Friday, watch those puts. They're actually riding just below that huge support around 330, and they're starting to finally create a good downtrend.
All right, and note the last one, with the way oil prices are moving up, how can we not talk about ExxonMobil to the upside?
Yeah, how could you not? This is looking good. Double bottom even in the short term around 105. It's straddling right around 110. So if it breaks above 110.25, then go ahead and look at those calls.
All right, so we have that upside level on ExxonMobil. It's only a play if it breaks above that level. And then don't forget about Microsoft and Amazon to the downside as well. Again, these are only plays if they break below the level Tom listed. But it is now about that time for today's big money trade of the day. And while today's trade isn't necessarily the biggest big money trade of the day, I do think it is very interesting, and it's with ticker symbol GLD. Again, how many times we've mentioned GLD in today's episode? But seriously, looking at GLD, basically the big money traded a call debit spread on this, and long story short, they are betting GLD to move to the upside over the next couple weeks. More specifically, they bought the 184 strike call options and they shorted the 188 strike call options, both of which expire on November 3rd of 2023. If you don't understand how option spreads work, don't worry about it. The main thing that they want is GLD to go up. They will make a maximum profit if GLD is at or above $188 on November 3rd, and they will be profitable once GLD is above basically $184.60. So I am also bullish on GLD. I think the risk to reward is great to the upside in the short term. And I think it's a stock that everyone has to be watching pretty closely. Gold prices do not move the way that they currently are very often. And you could say the same thing with, silver and, other assets that people buy when, the market and the economy isn't looking the best.
You know what? Whenever I zoom out on gold, Mike, we're at 178, almost touching 180 right now. That all-time high is only up around 192, 193 on GLD. So if we're able to just have a nice couple of weeks here, GLD could be running up to all-time highs again. And look at 2020, how high it got there. Look at during the Ukraine invasion, how high it got. It retested that all-time high. Are we going to retest that all-time high again? I think that there's definitely a possibility of it, and we've already tested it like 3 times now. So this might finally be where we get that big breakout with gold. And with inflation starting to uptick again, that just causes even more worry for people. So I think it's a pretty good play to follow. Now, it is a spread, but I will say, like, even if you don't really know too much about spreads, I think maybe getting like some 180 calls or some 175, 178, somewhere between like 175 and 180, I feel like it's a pretty good strike range right now.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you don't have to trade the spread. You can keep your life nice and simple and, trade it in a number of ways, whether it's whatever call options, just the closer to the money you get and the more time you get, the better it will be for you. But all in all, we're seeing a lot of opportunities right now. Many things are moving in some great ways. And if you're a short-term trader, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for, right? You want to see that great movement. You want to see those, momentum-filled days, because those are the times where the options move the most, and those are the times where it's just easiest to trade. So if you guys want to capitalize off of this price action, definitely check out the first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bots had an absolutely amazing week last week. Sniper bot was pretty quiet, but hybrid bot really showed out. Basically, it called out 3 plays this week. Friday's play was with SQQQ. That call option play popped from $96 all the way up to $164 for a 70% pop. Other plays of the day throughout the week was a BABA play that popped for 45%, and then we had another GLD play which popped for 65%. So if you guys want in on the action, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Not only do you get access to Hybrid Bot, but also Sniper Bot, SM Bot. You get access to big money, multi-million-dollar trades. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long, and we have some amazing new updates coming. Most of the time when we release new updates, we do increase prices shortly after. And once you sign up, you are locked in at your low price for life. Basically, what we do at StockedUp is reward those who, have a long-term vision. So we have people who have been with us for years now that even as prices rose, they were never affected. So if the current price is $149 and at some point it rises up to $300, you will always be locked in at $149. So definitely check it out. It's that first link in the description in the comments down below. But Tom, we're set for a very exciting week. Do you have any final thoughts or anything else you're watching?
Yeah, with going into the market this week, I'm still pretty worried about the overall situation going on in Israel a little bit as well. I still think that might play a bit of role in the market, so I'm still watching some of these defense stocks like Lockheed Martin. I know that they actually have earnings on Tuesday, so be a little bit careful of that. But there's other ones out there like LHX, which is L3 Harris, RTX, Raytheon. Like, there's a lot of defense stocks that you could possibly trade, so just keep them on watch just in case, that situation boils over. But it's going to be a big week, Mike, between gold rising up the way it is and the market starting to drop. It's getting freaky. I'm watching those oil stocks, especially with this war possible news as well. So this could cause even more volatility here. And hey, that volatility is what's fun, Mike. I heard you mention that like 3 times. The volatility is where the money's at if you're an options trader. Last week was so great. Like, Friday was one of the funnest days I've had in the market in a while.
Yeah, me too. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this type of price action going forward. And that's a great thing for everyone. So I hope you guys are as excited as we are. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We cover a lot of things in our videos that you just won't find anywhere else, whether it's, the charts that takes us hours to gather for you guys, or our predictions, and even, the schedule and earnings calendar that you guys can always rely on. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already. You'll see our videos recommended to you more often. And last but not least, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Woo, in the Profits channel. He had an amazing week last week. He made almost $1,000. So great job, and keep it up. Keep rolling.
Yeah, nice trades, Woo. I love to see that. 300% in 1 week. Wow, Mike. I mean, that's some pretty nice gains there. So let's go, Woo. Like to keep it up, and I even like your profile picture too.
There we go. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's have an amazing week in the markets.